Drivers of diesel cars could have to pay £23 a day to drive into central London under new plans proposed by Boris Johnson. He says a tax on top of the congestion charge is the only way to solve the capital's chronic pollution problems. Motoring Group says it punishes drivers who followed advice to buy diesel cars. But environmentalists say it doesn't go far enough. They want them banned from the city. Simon Harris reports.
They might look flash with prices to match, but Boris Johnson has just branded Chelsea tractors like these as dirty diesels. He wants to drive them off the streets of central London with a double whammy pollution tax on top of the congestion charge. Medical student Ali Abbas was helping his mum choose a new car today in Harlesden.
I think there's a lot of cynicism with regards to introduction of these sort of environmental laws, and a lot of the time people tend to assume that I think sort of the government's after charging them more and after their money rather than actually really being about the environment.
The current daily fee for driving in central London is the congestion charge of £11.50. But from 2020, older diesel vehicles will be hit with an additional charge for the same amount. That would put the price of entry into the zone at £23. The new ultra-low emission zone will cover the same area as the existing congestion zone. But critics point out some of the most polluted streets in London, like Euston Road here, aren't in the zone. In fact, very few of the worst are. They also complain the mayor has gone back on a pledge to ban high-polluting diesels altogether.
I'm really glad that he's taking it seriously, the whole idea that diesel vehicles are actually bad for our health. It's a major health concern, and I'm pleased that he's going to charge them. However, the fact is, the zone that he's planning is far, far too small. He's also planning it for 2020, which is far too far in the future. And lastly, of course, he's still allowing polluting vehicles in. So what good is it going to do?
The new charge will be levied against any diesel vehicle which doesn't comply with the latest EU emissions standard known as Euro 6. In effect, that's just about everything made before now.
Thousands of people in London are dying from poor air quality. This is a great step forward.
But you've gone back on an original proposal to effectively ban dirty diesels from central London.
That would have been even more draconian. And
so why haven't you done that?
Because you've got to be fair to people and you've got to move with technology that exists.
So from 2020, these older diesels will still be allowed in London, but at a price. Simon Harris, ITV News, Harlesden.
So we know there's a huge problem with our air quality in the city and what a dramatic effect it can have on our health. But will a move like this really reduce our emissions enough? And what can we learn from other major cities about how they are already changing the way people drive well before that 2020 deadline? Martin Stew looks at the science and solutions needed to improve the air we breathe.
A choking mix of smoke and fog, the Great Smog of '52 brought London to a standstill. 60 years ago this month, the government introduced the City of London Act, banning visibly smoky fuels from the city centre. The ultra-low emission zone hopes to do a similar thing today, only it will also reduce invisible emissions as well. To understand the problem, you need to understand what goes on inside an engine.
Fuel is injected, mixes, burns and then goes to the exhaust.
For 15 years, the government has been encouraging us to switch from carbon dioxide producing petrol to diesel. But diesel engines produce 22 times more particles and 4 times more nitrogen dioxide.
So in a petrol engine, the fuel mixes with air, burns to form water and carbon dioxide. In a diesel engine like this one here, the fuel is injected into the engine. This high temperatures create more nitrogen oxides, and also the fuel's less volatile. So that creates the particulates that we see.
Both those particulates and the nitrogen dioxide contribute to 4,000 deaths a year in London. Especially worrying if, like Emily Bates, you have asthma.
Every breath feels more strained. You have constant pain in your chest the whole day, which won't go away, so you definitely feel it.
Dozens of cities across the world already have a scheme to cut pollution. In Berlin, cars that breach emissions limits are banned from the city centre. In Athens, vehicles are only allowed into the city on alternate days, depending on whether the last digit of their number plate is odd or even. And in Seoul, in South Korea, drivers are given discounts on their car tax if they leave their car at home 1 day a week. The ultra-low emission zone will be more extreme, but then so are our levels of pollution.
Anything yellow, orange or red is above the legal limit.
Professor Martin Williams works for King's College London and told me exactly what particulates and nitrogen dioxide are doing to our bodies.
They essentially transfer into the body, into the whole system of the body, through the lung initially. They become absorbed and they affect a lot of the reactions that go on inside the body, which causes inflammation in the system and then leads subsequently to heart attacks and premature death.
Grave consequences, and the reason some campaigners say today's announcements haven't gone far enough. Martin Stew, ITV News.